Howdy everyone. Hey guys, time for another indie game interest poll because there's 1 billion trillion games. Like I can't even process the rate they come out at, honestly. Today we have 13 games that have been on my to-do list slash our recent releases slash games I got codes for, and that's how I got my attention, various sources and stuff. So I'm going to be going through the games here via their Steam pages, discussing them a little bit, showing a trailer or something, and then we'll go to the poll in the description, and you can vote for which ones you'd like to see. You can vote for all the ones that you think we should do a series on. Please try to be somewhat informed, because this is a chance to learn about new games, instead of just voting for the game you already know about and stuff like that. So that's that kind of thing. So this is Ash of Gods, which is a super strange game, because it looks like they made it by like tracing over Banner Saga. Like everything about it looks like Banner Saga 3, and you have to actually convince yourself you're not looking at Banner Saga 3, because the interface looks the same, the combat looks the same, the art looks the same, the portraits look the same, the side view landscapes with dramatic beautiful paintings look the same. The dialogue where two sides face each other and does reverse shot, and they scroll sideways, and the text is on the bottom for two-dimensional people portraits. Like that all looks the same, but it looks like they may have, once they were done fully forming their art style as being Banner Saga derivative, it looks like they figured out somewhere else to go, because they have like a collectible card game stuff, and like they claim to have a narrative where all characters are vulnerable, including the protagonist. It says right here, Ash of Gods' Redemption is a turn-based RPG that combines tactical combat, CCG elements, and a constantly evolving story in which no one is safe from death, including the main characters. It could be quite good, despite my immediate reaction to how much it looks like a different game, and why I just question why they did that, but okay. That's the first thing on the list. We have the Shrouded Isle. Your Excellency, in the short game we prepare for the awakening of our Lord. He hungers for human sacrifice. Sinners try to hide in their dark secrets, but all must be purged. It's a religious-oriented civilization where that is all that matters, and we gotta cull any heretics and take control and all that stuff, basically. The idea is that, I mean, that's basically it. You're basically running an incredibly oppressive religion, and it's a very depressing, messed up game where you systemize things like personality traits, like, oh yes, this person's ignorant, we can use that. Oh, but that one's impulsive, and like there's different traits that you weigh against as you try to win at being an awful organization, basically. We got Hyukddi Castle, or Hyukddi, it's Japanese, so I'm gonna have trouble inherently. It's a tile-based dungeon crawler. And the main unusual quirks here is that, one, Japanese temple, which is unusual, because we're used to these, like, various Western RPG dungeon settings. The other strange thing I'm hoping they'll show in this video is that it has split-screen features in a single-player game, because you can split your party to 2 separate perspectives and run around independently of each other for the purposes of solving puzzles or flanking during combat and stuff like that, which they do not appear to be showing here. Is there a screenshot that's, yeah, like that. That's the same fight, but split-screen, because one guy is off alone, you can see from the health bars down there, and these 3 are together, and so like you can move separately from each other, which is really interesting and might be a nightmare to control. We'll see. Iconoclasts.
Rated T.
Probably should have been showing trailers all along. Although both of those games are mostly static screenshots most of the time anyway, so it's probably not that big of a deal. Iconoclast is a 2D side-scrolling, I want to say Metroidvania, but I'm not sure, but it's a 2D side-scrolling arcade, Shovel Knight. That whole category. Pretty pixel art, go do an adventure like in Shovel Knight and Owlboy. Colorful. I think there's a lot of dialogue, actually, surprisingly. Kind of speaks for itself. The Raven Remastered. There's a game called The Raven. Came out like 6 years ago, I think. And it already has a remastered version? kind of question that, but it's probably a lot like Dark Souls, where they're really just porting it to the new consoles, and the PC version just gets like a version that runs better, essentially. But I got a code for this, and it's a game where you're out there trying to find a thief. London, 1964, an ancient ruby is stolen from the British Museum. At the crime scene, a raven feather. Is somebody trying to follow the footsteps of the Raven, the legendary master thief who disappeared years before? It starts on a train, is the main thing I've seen so far, and you're like slowly introducing yourself to a bunch of passengers, so my attempts to not spoil myself have been not very effective at selling the game for me, because I'm just talking to random passengers on a train, and I'm like, alright, I don't know. But it presumably has a whole plan, and it presumably had enough of a footnote to generate a remake, otherwise what are they doing? But basically, we're gonna go from location to location playing an adventure game, tracking a jewel thief. Battle Chef Brigade. Battle Chef Brigade pairs combo-based hunting and puzzle-based cooking in a hand-drawn fantasy adventure. Cook your way to the Brigade while subduing Victusia's destructive monsters. Follow Mina and Thrash in the single-player campaign, or challenge your friends in the daily leaderboards. So you go out and you beat up some monsters, basically, to hunt them. Then you go home to cook them via, I think, what it looks like vaguely like a Bejeweled minigame, kind of. And you're, like, doing a competitive cook-off, kind of. It's one of those games where I'm just like, I don't... What did you do? This is weird. And which is what appeals to me. It's the same general feeling I got from playing when I looked at Legendary Gary. I was like, I gotta look at this. What is this game? It's just weird. You beat up monsters to turn them into foodstuffs, and then you try to win a cooking competition, I believe. What an idea. Y'all are busy making weird games out there. Ghost of a Tale is an action RPG in which you play as Tilo, a mouse and minstrel thrown into a perilous adventure. Through stealth, cunning, you'll be able to explore the secrets of Dwindling Heights Keep and navigate its dangers. I was immediately interested in this game, but also I'm unsure. I keep looking into it, and I'd love to hear input in the comments from people who know about this game and have played it, and also just people just go in the comments and talk about all these games, frankly, and argue your case for and against various games and try to inform everyone, because you were all in this together at this point, and it's hard to pick games without spoiling them outright and stuff like that. But first of all, it says action RPG, but as far as I can tell, it's most dominantly a stealth game. Like, it seems like you're evading guards and stealthing around. That seems to be like the core thing, basically. I'm a little concerned because a little bit of what I've seen kind of felt like it felt a little mechanically aimless. And I was like, where's the focus of this game? Like, it doesn't seem to... I'm not sure if the stealth sections and the level design have the same sort of drive you would get from like a Deus Ex or something like that. But if you've played it and you know better, and it's great, I'd love to hear that. Because it looks fantastic. The art style and the atmosphere is all just lovely. And I'm just worried that because it's made by like one dude, that the game itself might not be up to snuff, and I can't tell without having already played it. But even if it turns out to not be great in interesting ways, that's a win for me either way. It's definitely on my radar, because I'm curious about it. Ebony Spire, this came up in a previous poll also. It's a relatively straightforward, like, much more retro art style dungeon crawler where one of the main gimmicks is that you can pick up items and stuff like that, and let's see, crawl, throw, summon, and smash your way through 20 levels of pure mishap in this first-person, turn-based dungeon crawling game. Every item can be used both by the player and against him, and there are more than 100 items and stat variations ranging from potion scrolls, weapons, and artifacts. So the idea is you go into a location and the items are all around the level, like, yeah, like that. Like loot and stuff like that, like they often are in these types of games, but the enemies can pick them up too. Not only to use them as weapons themselves, but also to use them as consumables, but also to throw them at you, if it's that kind of item. And I imagine with some items you might even be able to throw an item at your enemy, and if they survive, they can pick it up and throw it back at you, and things like that. It just seems like a fun gimmick for this kind of genre, and then something I don't think I've seen before quite yet. Tiny Metal, it's Advance Wars. Craft unique strategies and outmaneuver your foes in Tiny Metal, a turn-based Japanese war game. With new tactical options, you will command over 16 tactically diverse units, flank assault, deploy heroes from orbital dropships, and focus your firepower of multiple units to even out otherwise disastrous odds. It really seems to be somebody made an indie 3D Advance Wars clone, more or less. Which, I played Advance Wars, the first one, way back when I was significantly younger. I'm pretty sure that qualifies as being the first half of my life at the very least. And I have not played them since. But Advance Wars, I believe it must have come after Fire Emblem, right? So it was more like in some ways like a more modern Fire Emblem, where you had the same map screen and everything, and the same combat screen where it would be two dudes fighting each other on a split screen and everything like that, but it would be less about heroes that you're terrified might die permanently, and more about much more disposable fleets of guys that you're sending out, and you're like trying to capture a map city by city while fighting off your enemies. And kind of, I think there's even some element of rock paper scissors again, where certain units were clearly better against other units, and there's strategies and whatnot. I think I got to the final boss fight and then could not beat it when I was a kid. I don't remember if I ever actually defeated it. The art looks alright. It seems to be a decent translation of what's clearly, like, those cities in particular, like, those immediately, I recognize those as being, at least in similar style to the cities from Advance Wars, a game I haven't even looked at in like 15 years. But that could be cool. Tacoma! It's the people who made Gone Home made a new game. Tacoma is a sci-fi narrative venture from the creators of Gone Home, set abroad a high-tech space station in the year 2088. Explore every detail of how the station's crew lived and worked, finding the clues that add up to a gripping story of trust, fear, and resolve in the face of disaster. So much like Gone Home, I think it's like another like 2-hour narrative adventure where you go around in first person and explore a space after stuff has already happened in it, in a way that has been popular with both AAA games and indie games ever since BioShock, basically. Could be cool. And if enough interest is shown in this, I'd probably also play Gone Home, because I have not played it yet, either for my own purposes or for YouTube. I haven't played it yet. I'd probably just play them both back to back, since they're both pretty short.
Let's play a fun game to see how many people actually watch these through. The password is Uzumaki.
West of Loathing. It's a comedy RPG. Seems to be the most accurate thing to put it. West of Loathing, a slapstick comedy stick figure Wild West adventure role-playing game. Birdcatcher really liked it, if I remember correctly, although he also followed the source material, or like what the developer previously made, which is like part of his humor. But it's just a dumb, silly, weird, like offbeat RPG thing. And it's just really odd, and it comes with a massive recommendation. Oopsie. That's me skipping to the reviews on accident. But yeah, West of Loathing. I've heard several good things about it, and it's easy to be off-put by its art, I think, immediately, but I think that might be part of the absurd, just completely absurd style of the whole thing. Been on the to-do list for a while. Alright, speaking of been on the to-do list for a while, this will generate some buzz. Oops, I gotta click off the trailer. Hollow Knight. It's Hollow Knight. It's Hollow Knight. Forge your own path in Hollow Knight, an epic action-adventure through a vast ruined kingdom of insects and heroes. Explore twisted caverns, battle tainted creatures, and befriend bizarre bugs, all in the classic hand-drawn 2D style. It's a side-scrolly... Oh, it's a DLC trailer, isn't it? Get out of here, DLC trailers. So it's a Metroidvania. Is the best I know about it. It's got a nice little art style to it, all hand-drawn. People compliment its art, its gameplay, its map, its music, and it had a lot of buzz. And I think I just didn't have space for it when it came out. Wow, over a year ago now, apparently. But it's never left the to-do list. So one of these days. Also, I think it has 3 free DLC chapters, and I think the 3rd one might be coming out soon or something. In fact, if at this point, I think I might be in the clear, where if I started playing it starting now or anytime in the future, if the last DLC is not out, there's a decent chance it would come out over the course of the series, because I think it's a longish game. Heard it can be very hard. Ah, so many trailers. I'm trying to skip out of the music. Far Out. Got a code for this. It's I think I want to say that you're in some kind of destroyed ship or something, but I'm not really sure if that's the case. Far Out's a retro futuristic first-person survival adventure with a full freedom, action, and multiple endings. It's a first-person thing. You're inside of a ship solving puzzles and stuff, atmospheric and all that. And I don't really know where it goes from there. But you've probably noticed that I'm kind of a sucker for games where I can hop in a ship and solve puzzles and... or really just be in a ship. I like spaceship games a fair bit. I don't like spaceship management games as much. Like, I'm not... FTL's a cool game, but a lot of games that are closer to that kind of stuff, I'm like not psyched about that. I'm weirdly... I'm like the most boring person ever, apparently, because instead of wanting to do space combat or space or like fleet management, when I say I want to be in a spaceship, I just want to be in like the halls of a spaceship that's all grody looking, and maybe there's an alien monster or a malfunction that has to be fixed before it blows up or something, or like whatever, you know, or like Soma basically, or Prey. Yeah. Yeah, I just like being on space stations and ships, but not for the purposes of actually piloting said ship or doing spacey things necessarily. I don't, that's probably speaks to something generational or media consumption or whatnot. Anyway, that's game number 13. Enjoy that number, you superstitious people that may or may not exist. I didn't even think about it till just now, and yeah, it's 13. So as usual, it's an audience poll for interest, so what you say does not necessarily automatically get a one correlation of exactly what I'll play next, but it's just a good gauging information of which games I should look into, which games I should like generate for my like more immediate to-do list. Like this isn't just a vote for like the next winner is the next game, period. It's more like it's an interest poll for what can affect the next several games, potentially, unless something new comes out that takes some kind of precedent. And then it also, if something has a massive lack of interest and I have a key for it, then maybe I'll just turn that into a let's try and cut the cord and all that. Thanks for watching, like always, guys. Get down to that poll in the description and vote. Hopefully you made it this far, or you're just... an omniscient indie master who knew all these games already, because nobody would vote without knowing what the games in the poll are, right? I definitely don't get like 5 votes within 30 seconds every time I post one of these. That disappoint me greatly. Thanks for watching, like always, guys, and I'll see you next time.